Hello, welcome back to Big Fellas. How are you, Darren? You well, mate?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, mate. It's been a busy day. It's cold outside at the moment, isn't it? We've had little kids playing football, coaching, absolutely freezing. Got home, mate, lit the fire, fell asleep. That's pretty much most of my day.
Oh, mate. Well, we'll try and big this up a bit. You're playing it down a bit here. I'm just too excited. I just want to go straight into this one.
Mate, we recorded this episode in the week, right? And since then, we know it's a good episode when we record it, and then straight away we're on the phone after we've got off to the speaker going, that was fucking brilliant.
It is so true. This is it. I'm saying it. This is my favourite interview thus far. I'm blown away by it, quite frankly.
Mate, definitely. Look, we're a podcast for men, right? And we do weight loss. So who better than David Havens, ex-Navy SEAL for 16 years. He trains the SAS. He trains the trains with the SBS, SAS, you know, all the special
Green Berets
around the world. Yeah, Green Berets. But mate, how fucking modest is he as well? It's almost like he's just had an average career in his own eyes, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah, this is our episode with David Havens, ex-Navy SEAL, all about mindset. It's a banger. Stay tuned on this one, lads. You're going to enjoy this.
And here he is. Hi, David. How you doing?
Good.
Welcome to Big Fellas.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
Good. Joining us all the way from the United States. David, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
I'm from Ohio. I grew up in Ohio. I was in the Navy for 20 years. 14 of that was in the SEAL teams. And so I've been to Desert Storm on a ship, and then Iraq, 3 different times in Iraq as a Navy SEAL. Got out, and for the last 16 years, I've been doing government contracting, and that consists of training Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Marine Special Operations, and mostly it's writing exercises and putting those types of things together.
Nice.
Fantastic. And more recently, we hear you now. You're writing books. Is that correct?
Yes, I've wrote a mind body intake series, basically dealing with mindset, diet and intake, and a workout using weights and a weight system that I did, and then that was to kind of clear my head and get it out. But my passion is writing fiction, and that's my first novel just came out, No Loose Ends, Phase 1, and you can find that on Amazon. There's a description and everything to go along with that. And I just recently started book 2, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. I love those sorts of books. So let's start with the books then, David, shall we? So the one that I come across, because I reached out to you and you were really kind to offer to come onto the podcast again. Thank you. So the one that I come across was The Simple Plan.
Yes.
So what's that? Seemed to me to be a bit of a mindset book.
Yeah. So I've kind of cleaned it up to, and the reason I call it The Simple Plan is the word simple is an acronym. So the S is sleep, space, and schedule. The I is intermittent fasting. M is minimizing sugar. P is start moving towards that mindset and game plan type pieces. The P is for prioritize. U, L is for live life, and then E is for execute with consistency. And I've basically, in the first part of the book, I've kind of lay it out. If you're really moving towards losing weight, maintaining weight, or gaining weight, then you've got to. There's 3 things that I've kind of narrowed down that you need to get in order, and that's sleep, space, and schedule. And sleep, which I'm saying is 8 hours. And I got that from Matthew Walker's book. It's called Why We Sleep. And if you want a crash course on it, he was on Joe Rogan, episode 1109, and he sold me on sleep. I mean, really, the background and why sleep is so important. And if you're not willing to get that online, then to me, you're not in the game. So sleep's first. Space, you got to stop eating between meals. That's the biggest thing. So you have to eat, and we all know we're up for a certain amount of time. So I always say breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's been around since the beginning of time, but try to come up with a schedule that goes along with that, and then don't eat between meals. And that's, if you look at the way breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of lines up with a normal schedule, it's normally 5 hours between. And then like you hear a lot of people talking about, at a certain time, stop eating. And I'm a firm believer in that 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, stop eating. And if you do that, they all kind of play together. Schedule plays together, space plays together, and the sleep thing. So the sleep, if you stop eating at 7 o'clock and then start winding down your day, put your screens away an hour out, kind of get your brain kind of ready to go to sleep. You'll get that 8 hours, and you'll see what I was kind of fighting it in the beginning. But then when I started doing it, I was like, I woke up fresher. I woke up more creative. And then if you are feeling, motivated when you wake up, then you're going to want to eat better. You're going to want to be better. And if you do that with consistency over time, greatness awaits you. And that's the big kind of theme, is greatness awaits if you want to put the time and effort. But if you're not willing to put those three things, there's no need to even start talking about a workout. There's no need to start talking about calories. There's no need to get in a discussion on what's the best intermittent fasting program. There's no need to talk about that if we don't get those three things in line first. So that's basically the simple plan. And then there's some, like you said, some mindset and motivational stuff, talking about consistency and prioritize you. And then what do you live in life for? A lot of people are living it for their kids and the things like that. So what better way to do that than to clean up your diet and get in shape and those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Just picking up on that, David. And as you were saying, I was reflecting on my own weight loss journey, and all three of those things just hit the spot perfectly. When I found my rhythm, I was getting my 8 hours sleep. Yep. I had a schedule. I knew I was having specialist diet products. I knew when to take those diet products, and it just fell with an order. And yeah, everything you're saying there just really, really hits the spot in that sense. And the one thing, particularly about sleep, what I often found, or what I always find, and even sometimes now, if I've had a rough night's sleep, a shitty sleep, you wake up, you feel hungrier than you ever would do normally. I'd get up and I maybe not normally eat till sort of like much later in the morning, but at like 6 a.m, I'll be scavenging around feeling hungry. And it's probably trying to make up for that lost sleep, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And in Matthew Walker's book, when he starts talking about when you go to sleep, it's not just about getting to sleep. That sleep time is time for this guy upstairs to get some rest, to go to put stuff, to organize stuff in the hard drive. And if you how people talk about, well, I can go to sleep after I drink an energy drink. I believe you that you can get to sleep. I don't believe you're sleeping. I don't believe you're getting quality sleep, because it takes 8 hours to get caffeine out of your system. So lining a lot of that stuff up and understanding how sleep works, because one of the biggest things they talk about in the book is those first couple of hours that you're sleeping is where it's taking stuff from your new memory, new things that you've learned, and putting them in the hard drive for long term. If you don't get the right amount of sleep, that's never going to happen. That's why if you're studying for a test, if you get good sleep before your test, you're going to do better on that test by cramming all the way up to 2 or 3 hours, getting crappy sleep, and then waking up and thinking you're going to do your best on your test or whatever you're doing. And they even said that they were taking guys that were having problems with playing a certain thing on like classical music, and then giving them good solid sleep, and then waking up the next morning and being able to do it perfect, because their brain took everything they learned from that day, got it. It's like on your computer when you defrag your computer so it doesn't have a lot of different paths, have solid paths for where things are. That's what your brain does in those first couple hours when you're sleeping. So all these things play into effect of if you're wanting to achieve stuff on the backside, then making sure that, hey, we got some sleep, we're fueled properly. And then the other piece is getting on some kind of schedule so we can repeat this over and over and get the most benefit from it.
Yeah. So it's absolutely right. I totally agree. And I was lucky enough to interview an American and a British Olympic gold medalists not that long ago. And part of the conversation come up. If you had a big race the next day and you were late to your hotel for the event and you could choose dinner or sleep, which would you choose? And both of them said sleep.
Yes.
Sleep, like you,
100%.
You sleep is important.
Yeah.
And going through the process, you said about sugar as well. And I think sugar can be a real problem because I think sometimes when we think we're hungry, maybe if we've eaten too much sugar recently, it's not real hunger, right?
Right. And when you have too much sugar, your brain, your pancreas keeps calling for more because you think you've been eating a lot and you're full, but you're not getting what it needs. And until you get what it needs, it's going to continue to call. And in the book, I break it down to like an 8th grader can figure out, hey, how does that work right after you eat? And then when we're talking about space between meals, once you finish eating, your body comes up with a formula. Your brain talks to your pancreas and it figures out what do we got in his stomach and how do we get this digested and where is it going to go and everything. And it comes up with a plan and it starts to put the plan in effect. Well, the problem is if you an hour later have a snack, now you're adding some more stuff to the problem. And we already got a plan to fix this. Now we got this new thing coming in. And we got more stuff coming in. Maybe I'm going to drink a Coke, and then I'm going to have a granola bar, and next thing you know, I'm to the next meal, and it becomes one big meal from the start when you get up till the start you go to bed, and your body never gets a break to go, all right, let's get ready for lunch. Let's get ready for dinner. It's just working nonstop. And then if you eat all the way till you go to bed, now, for the first 3 or 4 hours of your sleeping, your brain has to work on digesting that food. When if you would have stopped at 7 o'clock, we could already have been through that process and got ourselves ready to sleep and give our brain some time to rest and relax and a lot of stuff in that sleep is rebuilding stuff in your brain. So, if you're constantly got that thing running 24/7, over the long haul, that's when they talk about sleep. They say if you're getting less than 6 hours over a long period of time, it's not if you're going to get Alzheimer's, it's when you're going to get it. That's some scary stuff.
And when you say it like that, that really sort of makes you think, really, doesn't it?
I know, because I can't. How much sleep I got when I was in Iraq? 3 to 4 hours a night. That's. And it's just like, all right, I've got to get myself together. And that's why we have a lot of guys coming back with nutrition problems and different things with PTSD and stuff like that, because this guy got basically overused the entire time. So,
yeah. And that's the problem. You're not, like you said, your brain's like a filing cabinet, isn't it? If you're not letting it organize that during those sleeping periods, it doesn't get filed away properly. It comes back and bites you on the ass a short time later. It's and it's really sad because I've got a family member of PTSD and it is a horrible thing as well. Really, really horrible.
And the thing about the thing is, I always look at myself as a dum-dum. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm never the smartest guy in the room. And I was uncovering a lot of this stuff when I started researching the book for Simple Plan, not just to learn it, but to learn it so that I could explain it in a simple form. And I think that was like, I know how smart I am, and I'm not that smart, and I'm figuring it out. And that's why I took the time to clean it up and explain it so that, because nobody wants to read science journals. They don't. They want somebody to explain it to them in layman's terms and, easy to learn piece. So, and I did the same thing with calories and those types of things, is not getting so far into weeds, but go, hey, here's kind of how it works. You can have good calories and bad calories. I get it, but they're still calories. And if you have too many, you can have too many good calories and you're still going to get the same effect.
And I think the problem is that fairly simple process, which is something that we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years, it can almost be confused with these diets that you can go on to, this plan, that plan.
Yes.
It almost confuses things to make it like, by our plan. But I love that. And I'm definitely going to commit to reading that book. I think
The one thing about you saying the good calories and the bad calories, I think you're absolutely right. If you eat too much of the good stuff, then you're going to put on weight. Yep. I guess the caveat you'd add to that, though, is if you're eating the right stuff, you're eating the good stuff, you won't overconsume because your body's getting what it needs.
Yeah.
And so it'll be happy and satisfied.
100%. Because I think a lot of people, because remember there used to be the big fat scare where any kind of fat was evil. That was like they were dumping that out all the time. And the reality is you need, depending on what you want to, if you want to gain weight, maintain weight, or lose weight, the fat percentages are a little different, but it's about 20% across the board. 20% of your calories need to come from good fat, like your extra virgin olive oils and things like that. All those, and there's all different kinds of good fat, but you have to be taking in these, and you have to have a certain amount of protein and a certain amount of carbohydrates to get your body to do the things that you want it to do, whether you want to put on muscle, get leaner, maintain, those type things.
So you've got another book out as well, right? About working out.
Yes, the workout book is. As I've used this system since 1990, and every person that's been a workout partner, they always benefit from starting with like the perfect plan. It took me a while to figure out how to do stuff, but the basics of it, if you work through the workout in about, I would say, 2 cycles of the workout, you'll understand how the whole thing works, and you can adapt it to any kind of training that you're doing. But understanding that every body part, whether you're doing bench press or bicep curls or whatever it is, there's only so many basic movements. There's basic movements. Now, you may call them a different thing when you're doing CrossFit or whatever, but there's a push and a pull. That those movements are a pull down. Those movements are almost always the same movements that are done over and over. And all I've done is I've come up with a system of rotating how you do those with each kind of machine or dumbbell or hammer strength or whatever you're doing. And I always tell guys with chest, if you just, because most people know how to work the chest, it's bench press type movements. So on a bench press move on the chest itself, it's only 4 basic movements. You got some kind of fly movement, you got some kind of flat chest movement, some kind of incline movement, and some kind of decline movement. And all I did is I've taken it. It's like if you did barbell first on flat, the next time you do the flat, it's going to be with dumbbells. The next time it's going to be with hammer strength, and the next time it's going to be with dumbbells. And all I did is I've rotated that around, and then I've come up with a system called 4-3-2-2. So it's 4 sets, 3 sets, 2 sets, 2 sets, and you can be in and out of the gym in 45 minutes. In and out of the gym in 45 minutes, and you'll completely have worked that muscle out. And a lot of guys, they'll get into like, well, I do back and bis or chest and tries. You can't tell me that you can get the same workout with your chest while you're working your tries too. If doing the press down moves, it's one major body part per workout. And if you get the discipline to do that with consistency, that's all you're going to be able to do. And you're going to see such unbelievable results. It'll actually blow your mind that it's so little amount of work that you actually have to do if you're consistent with it. And I've everybody in the platoon, when I was back in the platoon, everybody was working this system, and they were all benefiting more because I'm bringing a polished product to them, and the strength gains to whatever you want to do with that. It's pretty amazing how it works and how simple it is too.
And I think that's the key word there, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're eating, whether you're working out, whatever you're doing, it's consistency. That's the key to, well, most things in life, I think. Do you have any sort of tips on how to stay consistent, how not to fall off that bandwagon?
Right, so understanding consistency, whatever you're going after, and I've found this with writing. I found this with I've worked on creating a couple inventions and things like that. You're not going to get the best out of anything unless you're consistent. And the consistency works like this. Your subconscious has to believe you're all in before it's going to start opening up the other hard drive in your brain. It's going to give you all that normal stuff that you already know, and you're going to play with that, whether you're inventing, writing, playing an instrument, whatever it is. But when you show up, I don't care, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's 3 times a week, maybe it's only on the weekends, maybe it's a half hour on a Saturday, whatever it is. But your brain, your subconscious needs to believe you're all in. And it's only going to believe when you show up. If you show up over a long period of time, we're talking about 6, 8 weeks, and I show up every Saturday, and I write for a half hour, I write for 45 minutes. What it does, it builds this belief within your subconscious, like, oh, he's for real. He's all in. Now, for me, it's about the 1 month time. If I'm writing 3 times a week and I'm showing up Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever it is, just about that 1 month time, my brain starts believing, oh, we're going to sit down and we're going to finish this book, or we're going to start heading on writing this exercise for whatever it is. It starts opening up. And when I sit down, there's no writer's block, because the brain has been working all week in anticipation that on Saturday at 9:00, you're going to show up, and your brain's going to show up, and it's going to flash out some of these ideas. And you're going to think, oh, I just came up with this idea while I was driving, or when I woke up this morning, I had this great idea. No, your brain had anticipated that you're going to start on that Monday or that Tuesday or that Saturday. Hey, that's writing day. So we have to have all our stuff. It'll also train your brain to look out and see stuff. It'll see opportunities that, oh, that could go in this story, or that could help with this invention, or you could be watching something on TV, and your brain is in tune to be working behind the scenes to build and put all these tools and parts and stuff together and ideas, so that when you show up at that scheduled time on that consistent schedule that you got, it's like, hey, here it is. And all the stuff's going to lay out, and it's going to feel like you're picking and choosing what you want to put in there. Those words, like, sometimes I'll read stuff from the last session and I'll go, that's not me. I'm not that good. I'm not good enough to write that good. And it's just because your brain wasn't scrambling with the basic new stuff. It was taking stuff that had been prepared and anticipated to give you that opportunity when you sit down to do it on that consistent schedule. But you have to have buy-in. Your subconscious has to believe that you're going to show up. And just like with anything, I need to see some action first. And that's how that subconscious was like, yeah, because a lot of people, like New Year's resolutions, we're hard at it for the first 3 or 4 weeks. And then we're like, oh, maybe I won't go every day. Maybe I'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe. And then here in the United States, there's a gym called Planet Fitness. and they've got that monthly subscription rate at either $10 or $15, and it's just low enough so that you don't feel bad about not going. That's the business plan there. They say no. Hey, because if you show up every single time for $10 a month, what is that? That's only 30, 40 cents a day when you figure it out. And they've got to pay for the shower. They got the cleaning, all the other stuff. So if you don't show up, they're making money, and you don't feel the guilt. If you had to pay $99 or $150 like you do at some of these CrossFit gyms, you got skin in the game now. Nobody wants to waste $150, so you grind it out and you show up and do it.
That's so true. That's so true. So much so it resonates with me. We are looking to joining a gym, my partner and I, and we went to a place called David Lloyd, which is kind of like the Rolls Royce of gyms in the UK. It is the more premium one.
Yep.
And we were looking at going, and it's going to be about £200 a month for us to go, which is it's a lot, but it is beautiful. But you're locked into a 12-month contract, so if you're doing this, you've got to do it.
Yeah,
you've got to turn up every week. And so we're looking at, and there is the Planet Fitness is the sort of the cheap end of the market. We have Pure Gym, which is much the same.
Okay.
There's no contract attached to that, and it's a case of And again, it's about £25 a month, and if you don't turn up, well, you don't miss it, do you? It's gone at the start of the month. You don't even miss it before you've been paid. So. Yeah. And so we're looking at it, and I said, look, if we're going to sign up to David Lloyd, we are in. We have got to do this. And I might have to play your speech just then back to my partner and say all about the consistency. And say, look, this is from a Navy SEAL here. This is how this goes down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's brilliant. I think what we've already covered in this podcast so far is brilliant, because you've got the plan around your food, you've got the workout, and we've covered some really good mindset. But David, we've invited you onto this podcast. Well, before we go a little bit back into your history, recently there's been a new US president become president of the United States. So, I think British people are just a bit confused as to the whole thing. We don't know whether to love him, hate him, or not
laugh
care.
at him.
What are your thoughts?
Well, every time we've had a new president, I've always, whether it's a guy that I voted for or a guy that I didn't vote for, I've always hoped for the best. I'm not a guy that's like, oh, my guy lost and I'm going to hate on this guy the rest of the time. That's not me. I'm wanting the best for my country, and I tend to vote along a certain party, but it doesn't drive me. I'm looking out what's the best for the country, and that's how I pick. But it's exciting for me, and this is the one thing that kind of drives the excitement for me. It's the first time we've ever, I know it happened a long time. There's one other time that it happened, but this is the first time in my lifetime where we've had a president that knows how it works, had time off, and now he's coming back in. And you as a president in the United States coming in for the very first time, you may think you know what's going on. You may think you know how the intelligence world works. You don't. You don't have a clue of what the real dangers are in the world, the real negotiations that are in the world, and things like that. And now we've got somebody that's coming in, and they already know. They basically got a cheat sheet, and to me that's what's exciting. Whether you're caught up in some kind of movement or whatever, to me, these last 4 years with COVID and all the other stuff that's going on, and the things that may not be good that was going on, that's all gone. And righting the ship and getting things up and running, that I'm just so optimistic for what's coming up, what's going on. I don't get caught up in all the rhetoric and things like that. I get caught up in action. I want to see action. I want to see things moving up. That's what I want. And that's what's going to motivate me to get behind somebody when I see action, when I see results, things like that. So whether it's Trump or whether it's somebody else, it's the fact that we're bringing somebody in that already knows how it's done, and it's going to be harder to do the old bamboozle and or the establishment people telling you, no, this guy's really good. This guy's really good. You don't know when you're first coming in. When you're coming in and you got 4 years to to think about it. Yeah, I think I'm being optimistic for what's ahead. And I've seen some people on both sides, being optimistic just because of that fact. So.
Oh, fantastic. No, that's interesting to hear. And I kind of agree with you. I think that the fact, he's been there, he's done it. He knows what the pitfalls are. I think probably a new president coming into the job, and we've got a new prime minister, 6 months in, and there'd be things he cannot prepare for.
Well, I saw the same thing when I went to Iraq the first time. I lived with it was me and another SEAL, and we lived with a 12-man ODA, so a Green Beret team. And our main job was to go out and find bad guys, go capture them. And our primary job was to protect the prime minister, the president, and the 2 vice presidents for Iraq. That was our main job. And when I look back, I got 6 months, I got almost a year off between my first deployment and my second deployment. And then when I went back over the second time, it wasn't learning how things operate. It was basically starting right off and going 100 miles an hour. Vice, when I first got there, you got to learn, you got to get your feet on the ground, learn culture, learn all these different things, not only just your job and how to implement your job. But when I came over the second time, I was like, and people were like, man, you guys got a lot of stuff done. Well, yeah, but it's not because we were doing anything special. It's just I knew what was going on. I knew what my job was. I knew how to better implement and integrate and all these different things to go along with it. And when we were first there, I was just learning what's available. When I came back the second time, I knew I need to talk to this person. I need to find out who's in charge of that. All these different things that help with targeting and intelligence and all that stuff. I knew what I needed. I knew who to go and get that stuff from. I wasn't, starting from scratch. So I kind of see the same thing when you're coming back in as a president. It's like, that you can take off running versus that, crawling and walking and running type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So moving on to that then, how did your sort of military career start? And what was sort of childhood like? Were you quite fit, active? Was the military always the way you were going to go?
No, never. Military was never remotely a blip on the radar. There was no. I think the last person that was in the military in my family, maybe Spanish-American War. So there was no military at all. So there was no talking to an uncle or grandpa or about, and being excited about doing something. And being a Navy SEAL wasn't even an option. And then I had a scholarship for an electrical engineering degree, and I went about 6 weeks, and I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. And then my buddy was joining the military, so I just joined with him and got caught up in it. And the plan was to go 4 years, get some more college money, come back. And at the end of the 4 year, at the end of the kind of the 4 year mark, I had been to the Persian Gulf on a ship. And while we were there, I was part of a boarding crew that would board other ships in the Red Sea and different things like that. And I was like, you know what, this is kind of exciting. And then the fact that you were going to make more money as a Navy SEAL. So I was like, all right. I kind of got swept into it, helping another guy, a buddy, train, because I didn't have any swimming background. There's zero amount of swimming background. I hadn't even swim. I had never swam the full length of an Olympic-sized pool in my entire life a year and a half before I went to SEAL training. Never. So,
Wow.
and I could probably count on my fingers and toes how many times I'd been in a swimming pool. So I could swim, but I could jump in the water and swim to the side. That's about all the swimming I'd ever done. And started helping a buddy train. And next thing you know, just kind of got sucked in the loop. And once I got there, I was like, oh, we get to work out every day. And that's kind of how it went from there. But the thing about it is, people always talk about the extreme training and things like that at Buds. And there is a suck factor that goes along with it, but there's nothing, and I'm completely serious about this, there's nothing in SEAL training that the majority of people can't, or that they can do that. You can do an obstacle course, you can swim in a pool, you can go run and things like that. It's just, you're going to do a lot of it. And that's what you're going to do it every day. And you're going to do a lot of it. And they're going to push this guy to the limit. And that's what I would say 90% of the things that get people at SEAL training is the mental aspect, not the physical aspect. Rarely do guys fail out because of physical failure or anything. It's the mental piece. You just don't think it's ever going to end. And then they get you. And the heat gets you, the cold gets you, being wet all the time gets you. It's just, you're going to suck for 6 to 8 months, and it's whether you're willing to put up with it. But as far as anything being physically, you can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups. It's just, you're going to be doing a lot of it. That's all it is.
Yeah. And just for our listeners that may not be sort of familiar with the military, can you just tell us who or what the Navy SEALs are?
It's the equivalent of like SAS, SBS, like the Polish Grom or Green Berets, Delta Force, those types of. It's a special operations. You're a special operator. A lot of people get caught up in you're an assaulter, but the reality is we're well versed in sea, air, and land. So we jump out airplanes, we dive, drive underwater submersibles, lock out of submarines, all these things. And it's all taking care of, the problems we have in the world, capturing bad guys, those types of things. And that's,
I think probably the most famous, it was a Navy SEALs who got Bin Laden, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, that's what you get most of the stuff for, but a lot of the stuff is going over and training with foreign forces and things like that too, strengthening other militaries so that, they can be as productive as they can be too. So there's a lot of stuff that goes along to it, but, the Halo video game and all kinds of stuff, there's a lot of stuff that plays to, assault. But, there's other stuff that we do to help out the rest of the world.
But that must have been really good for you as well, as like a younger lad, a young man, shall we say, getting to go all around the world, work with the best of the best of each country.
It is very exciting. And when you're working with other countries, it's their best too that you're working with. You're learning from them, they're learning from you. And it elevates your game too, just training with our own guys elevates our game. Then we go train with foreign forces. It elevates our game too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Fantastic.
So how long were you in the Navy SEALs for?
I was in the Navy for 20 years, and the last 14 was as a Navy SEAL.
Wow. So, yeah.
I got a little bit of it. Well, I actually got out because I thought the Iraq War was winding down. I thought Afghanistan was winding down. This is around 06, 07 time frame. I was like, oh, everything's going to start winding down. So I probably should get out and get a job, because that's the whole all during the 90s. That's what we all trained to do, all that stuff. And then you go into combat and I got to do the majority of the stuff we trained to do. And it's like, I don't want to go back and just train for the next 10 years, So I saw it winding down. I was like, all right, I'm going to get out. find something else to do. I wasn't, and then it's stretched out a little further, but but once I got out, I was like, oh, because I've always been the type of guys like, it doesn't matter where I'm at. It's that whole cream rises to the top thing. I knew my work ethic, and I knew my work ethic was always going to help elevate me or move me up the chop chain. So I always told people, it's like, if I went into a regular place like Home Depot or something like that, give me a year and I'll be the manager. That's always been my mindset. Whether it would happen or not, that's always been my mindset. It's like, if I put in the time and effort, legitimately put in the time and effort, don't complain, volunteer to help, be the guy that, you want somebody to do it, I'll do it. I'll do the dirty work. I'll do all that stuff. I've always been the person that believes if you do that, people are going to pay attention. They're going to promote you. They're going to move you to the next level. They'll give you the training you need to do whatever. And that's how always been. Whenever I do anything, it's always, all right, put myself aside. And if somebody, I'll be the guy that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that gets you quite far in life. Me and Mark are both self-employed. And I think even being self-employed with that sort of mindset, it still gets you places.
You have to keep it going.
We have to live by that approach. Yeah. And it's,
And I think the benefit of being self-employed, though, right, is that the harder you work, the more you get out of it. So that's why I think some people love it.
Yes.
And unfortunately, probably why some people hate it as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So once you've done your 14 years in the SEALs, 20 years in the Navy, what is it you do now then, David?
So I got out and I started working with Naval Special Warfare, U.S. Army Special Operations, and Marine Special Operations, and doing all different things. I started out doing surveillance, so we'd surveil the guys when they're on exercise, and then we'd have role player pieces where you'd play different roles for whatever the exercise was. I did that for a little while, and then I started writing, and I started writing the exercises and writing the roles, writing the intelligence and stuff to drive the exercise to whatever the end goal is, whether it's to capture a target or set up, a forward operating base, whatever it is. I started writing those exercises, and I've been doing that for a while. Did some analyst stuff for a little while, and then this last year I've kind of taken some time off, and I wanted to finish the book and do some other stuff too. The No Loose Ends book. I wanted to really give that a shot. Sit down, grind that out, and I was kind of inspired by Jack Carr when he wrote The Terminal List, and then Amazon Prime picked it up, and Chris Pratt ends up being the lead star in the series, and I was like, well, if Jack can write that, why? Jack was actually in the same. When I was in Ramadi, Iraq, his platoon is the one that came in and relieved us. And I was like, if Jack can write and do that, why can't I do it? And then it's always that thing is if it's been done, then it's possible. If somebody's already done it, it's possible. Unless there's some kind of physicality piece where you have to be so tall or so strong or maybe so fast. Yeah, I understand that. But if you take the physicality out of something, most things in life are possible. Most things in life. Now, it takes me a lot longer to get there than most people, but, I know if I keep moving forward, I'm going to achieve what that guy achieved. Maybe he did it in 6 weeks and it might take me a year. I don't know, but that's what I've been pushing towards now. So.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we try to reflect on the podcast. A big section of what we do is we celebrate losers. So guys that have lost the weight.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's so important that we share those stories of guys that have lost that weight to show, look, if they can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. And they're going to give you tips and tricks and things like that help them get through there, whether it's their actual diet or, hey, well, how did you stay motivated? How did you, when you were down, how did you stay consistent? How did you keep showing up? Those types of things. Yeah. How did you stay in the game?
Yeah.
And if, we always in SEAL training, it's always, it's always locking arms. So when they're going to surf torch you and they march you out in the cold water and you have to sit down and let the waves hit you, you lock your arms with your buddy and everybody holds together as one big unit. And then once it gets really cold, then everybody starts singing and you get a song and you start singing the same song over and over. And the louder you get, the more motivated you get. And it's that whole mentality of you can't hurt me. I'm here. My buds are in with me and we're going to make it through this. And same scenario, you meet up with guys, you talk to guys, you inspire, their story might inspire another guy to stay consistent. Keep at it. That's where I was at this point. I wasn't seeing the losses of the gains or whatever, but I kept at it. And once I got up, there's a tipping point at some point. Whatever you do, there's a tipping point at some point where what originally inspired you, your achievements inspire yourself to continue the mission forward. And when you become your own inspiration, then it's endless for what you can do because you see it. And I same thing with when we start talking about showing up with consistency. Once you finish a project, it's easier to start and finish the next project. And they're going to come quicker and quicker and quicker as you go down the line because you know what that tastes like. You know what that feels like. It doesn't have to always be the biggest thing in the world, but the finish piece. You made it to the finish line. You got it. I have the manuscript or whatever it is. It's that you know what that feels like. You want that, I'm going to show up because it happened last time. I know I just got to keep going, get to the point, and it'll come. So yeah, it's when you can lock arms and be around other people that have like minds or going after like goals and things like that. Yeah, especially the whole mentorship. If you're starting out something for the first time, get a mentor, get somebody that's done it, and get somebody that will relish watching you achieve. They're going to enjoy helping you because they enjoy watching you achieve. They've already achieved. Like I always talk about swinging the golf club. Yeah, you can go on that golf course and swing that golf club and take a year to learn how to do it, and get a PGA professional and go take a few lessons and learn what right looks and feels like. So then when I go out to practice, it's perfect practice. It's not just practice, try to figure it out. It's perfect practice. That's that. I always say one of the chapters in Frontside Focus is perfect practice makes perfect. That's if you're doing it the right way. The same thing like in shooting. We don't just go to the range and teach each other how to shoot. We go get the best shooters in the world, bring them in, and have them teach us the best way to shoot a pistol, best way to transition from your primary weapon to your secondary weapon, how to do it with equipment on. Get guys that know and have figured it out, bring them in, teach you, and then it's train the trainer type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's absolutely awesome. Right. And it kind of goes back to, the common theme for me throughout this podcast as we sort of bring it to its end. But the natural theme for me, David and Mark, I hope you agree, is consistency. Consistency is everything.
You got to show up. You got to show up and get on a schedule, and then get this guy to buy in. Hey, Dave's all in. All right, we need to start. We know that we're going to show up on Saturday. Let's, your brain collects stuff all week long so that when you get ready to go at it, we're going full throttle and we're maximizing our time that we're there to do the job.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think even when the body's saying to you, what are you doing? I don't want to do this. that consistency, like you said, your body will catch up, right? You'll start to build that habit in, and at some point it will catch up.
Yeah. But the big thing I think was when you're writing or doing stuff like that, it's showing up. But the other thing too is training yourself is don't take on too much too quickly. If you take on too much too quickly, especially like a New Year's resolution type thing, when people are like, I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to start eating right. All right, stop, slow down. I get it. You got to have the right mindset. You got to be motivated to come in there and do it. But let's work on sleep. Let's work on our space between our meals. We don't have to clean up our meals on day one. Let's start putting space between our meals, cutting out our snacks. And then if we can do that, then let's work on making sure that we have some kind of schedule that we're eating. We're eating between 6 and 8, and we're eating lunch between this time, and we're stopping our eating at 7 o'clock. Let's get all those things, because everybody has a different lifestyle. There's a lot of stuff going on in life. So let's get those things lined up first. And then when we want to go take on a workout or a diet or something or start working on our calorie intake, okay, those other pieces, that I'm telling you, that space between meals sounds like 5 hours sounds like a long time, but you've got to break a habit that we've been doing since the beginning of time. Like if you got, at the end of the day, you eat a meal, you get the kids put down. How many times you find yourself in the pantry going, maybe some popcorn, maybe some chips because my Netflix special's coming on or whatever. And it's a pattern that you got. It's a habit. Excuse me. It's a habit that you've been doing. Break those. If you can get those things broke, then you can take on the bigger thing. But if you try to take on all that and a diet that you got to have to buy special food and all these different things, then I've got to go to the gym. And then I'm probably going to do too much at the gym. So now I'm hurting a little bit. I'm sore and all that. Hey, baby steps. I know people talk about it all the time, but slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And you can take that in any way throughout your life. But hey, slow down, relax. Don't take on too much too quickly. Let's try to work on sleep, space, and schedule. And those are things that we can tackle. We don't have to change our diet. We don't have to do this, but I guarantee you're going to see effects from just putting space between your meals and stopping at 7 o'clock on eating, that it's going to be inspiration for you, because you're going to, and if you do, I'm telling you, if you do that for 1 month, sleep, space, and schedule, after 1 month, take a look in the mirror. Just what you see in the mirror is going to go, oh, you know what? I do feel a little better. I feel real rested. I've got more ideas at work, all those types of things. I think that's going to be enough to go, okay, let's take the next step. Let's work on having a good breakfast for a couple weeks. Let's work on having good breakfasts and lunches and that, and doing that type of stuff. But towards the end of the simple plan, I talk about another thing is you've got to live life. All right. So you don't make everything so strict, and I'm not a big cheat day thing, because there's so many things in life that come up. If a doctor's appointment, picking up kids from school, soccer practice, all those things, sometimes it goes late. So sometimes, yeah, you're not going to have the best schedule, but that 5 hours is your reset. So let's say I ate a bad meal. That's fine. I got 5 hours to clean it up. I'm not gonna screw it up for my body. I've maybe ate a little too much fat, ate a little too much sugar. That's fine. But we put the 5 hours between, and we reset, reassess, and Charlie might continue mission. And if you can keep your mind in that thing, all's not lost, because I had a birthday party and ate ice cream and cake. That's one meal isn't why I gained 50 pounds over Christmas. It's not. It's because I couldn't stop that one meal throughout the Christmas season. That's what stopped it. But even big seasons like Thanksgiving and Christmas and those types of things, that 5 hours between the meals, you can screw up some meals and put your 5 hours in between and stop eating at 7 o'clock. Your body has kept you alive this long. So and a lot of us have been screwing it up. I've been screwing it up for 55 years, So if you put those 5 hours between your meals, it really gives your body a chance to catch up, reset, and then let's get it on for the next 2 or 3 meals. Okay, I screwed one up. All right. It's not the end of the world. And when you start working out, that helps too. A lot of people don't realize resistance training is one of the best ways to pull that sugar out of the bloodstream, because your cells in your body need need that in the muscles after your workout. So it can help clean up a lot of that sugar too. But more exercise is not a good diet plan. that 45 minutes to 50 minutes a day, nobody needs to be doing more than that, unless you're a professional athlete or something like that. We can do better things like eating better, getting better sleep, things like that will keep us right on track.
Yeah,
awesome. That's brilliant. Just before we round it up, David, there's probably just a few fun things we want to talk about. Before we started recording, we did mention, like I said, we're big, passionate football fans here, being in England. What you know as football is different to what we call football, but you did say that you did take a liking to a particular soccer team. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I had no clue about the Wrexham piece, and that it had me from episode 1. And then I think it's too is, Ryan Reynolds, and then his buddy putting the whole thing together, how it all builds up. And then, but just how the whole soccer thing is tiered out. You move up to one league to the next, no clue. I had zero clue of how that worked. And then you become a fan of soccer, seeing it and seeing behind the scenes, and the love of the game, it really comes out in that series. I mean, it's what I see, or it's like if you go to Texas and you see high school football, that's how that is. It's almost a religion type thing. And then seeing that, and then the Ted Lasso thing, I absolutely loved it. The writing was so good. But the music and the build-up in the Wrexham stuff I thought was absolutely premium. It was, they would take you right to the last minute, and then when they won, it's like,
it's so well made. Yeah. And I can remember that Notts County game where it was saving a penalty in the last minute, and and as a football fan, I've been going to games all my life, and those moments you live for.
When you guys were watching it, did you know a couple of those guys that they brought in? Did you already know those guys from the past when they brought?
Yes. Oh yeah, like Ben Foster.
Yeah. Did you guys all?
Yeah. So he was established keeper. He played for Manchester United in the Premier League.
Okay.
And he played for England. So yeah, no, he was well known in that sense.
Yeah, so I actually went to watch Wrexham earlier this season.
Oh, did you?
Playing against Peterborough in the league that they're in now. Yeah, they won as well, unfortunately. Peterborough's our local team. But they're a good team, and I think they'll continue rising. They're certainly looking to get promotion again.
Yeah.
But yeah, David, if you're ever over, you'll have to reach out to me and Mark, and we'll take you to a real football match.
Yeah, absolutely.
The passion will get you, I tell you.
What, just everybody in town, and they would show people at the pubs, and then the stadium itself, and redoing the stadium and the different stages and stuff. It was just, I don't know. You look at stuff like that, and you're like, those are filmmakers. Those are guys are taking a simple story and just letting the whole world know what's so wonderful about it. It was, I absolutely loved it.
Oh no, it really is. And so Darren is a Liverpool supporter, so one of the biggest teams in world football. I support a team called Norwich, and we are between the Premier League and the league below. What I loved about Wrexham and what McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds have done is the lower leagues are often forgotten about, but they've made it exciting. They've made it interesting, and they've brought that audience over from the States. And 10 years ago, Wrexham were a nothing team. They were on their arse, bless them. But they've just brought a bit of glamour and excitement to the lower leagues of English football, which you got to thank them for. They've done a really good job of it. And to have a smash sort of hit series talking about the National League, which is English 5th tier of football, and to make that exciting was incredible.
Especially if you're from Wrexham at night, That's got to be just mind-boggling, And then all the, you've got celebrities coming now. You've probably got all kinds of, you're seeing people all over town. That's got to be exciting.
Yeah. Well, Wrexham played Birmingham. Birmingham are owned by a big American group, and they Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you had so Wrexham played Birmingham, and you've got Tom Brady and Ryan Reynolds sat in the crowd next to David Beckham watching a League One game. That's unheard of.
Right.
I think is it who's the Anchorman character? Farrell. He's buying a club as well.
Oh, is he really?
Is he Will Ferrell?
Yeah, Will Ferrell. Yeah, I'm sure he's buying one of the clubs up north. He's looking to buy one of them. But
I did hear something actually.
I tell you, David, it's a sport that really does get you. And I said to you before we started here that we have a number of US military bases near where we live, and where I in particular, I could throw a stone onto that base. We're so close to it. But where I live, we have a lot of American airmen that live off base. They want to live in the community and stuff. And one of my friends was an airman serving at the time. He's finished now, but England were playing in the I think it was the World Cup, and I tell you, that is like those moments that you talk about. You go down the pub, where England World Cup matches, every pub here will be absolutely rammed, and the atmosphere is incredible. And he was absolutely blown away by it. It was really interesting seeing an Americans sort of bringing him into it, and he absolutely loved it.
Well, I thought that
Do you follow the US soccer team?
I don't. I follow football and baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport of all time. And then Ohio State just won the national championship. So that was pretty exciting in Ohio, last week. It's, working our way up from getting beat, in the first part of the season and just climbing up and then winning the national championship. It's a big deal here. Whether you're in Texas or Ohio or Florida or someplace in California, it's a big deal when you win the national championship for college.
Yeah, awesome.
Right. Well, David, we've taken up a lot of your time, and thank you ever so much for coming on. Just what we'll do, just to let everyone know, is your books. I'm certainly interested. What we'll do is we'll tag the Amazon links for them in the description of the podcast. So if anyone's interested and wants to download them, then just go to the description and we'll take you straight there.
Yeah, but hey, thanks for having me on. It's a good time talking to you guys.
Bloody hell, Mark. That's it. What do you think?
Wow. I told you. What did I say? I said this one's going to be a banger. And yeah, that blew me away. I felt so in awe of the guy.
Is that a pun? He blew me away. Mate, brilliant. That book as well, The Simple Plan. Do you know what? It just makes so much sense. I love the way it's simplified. But it's like you can see his brain working. Like, people keep asking me this, so I'm just going to write a book about this. He loves writing, and great, mate. That Simple Plan sounds amazing. The lifting book, I can't remember the name of it now, sounds brilliant. And mate, I love my military books anyway, like those fictional one. The fictional one is right, and it's always better when it comes from someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the thing that really just did it for me was his chat about consistency and showing up. I mean, he spoke with so much passion, and I was just like, I need to get out and start running now, mate. It had that effect on me. Honestly, it was brilliant. I hope you liked it, lads. This was an absolute cracker, and I was absolutely delighted. We could have talked for hours with this guy. We really could, couldn't we?
Yeah, we definitely could, mate. And we'll put all the links in the bio, definitely. Absolutely brilliant guest, and I think you're absolutely right. One of, certainly my favourite, if not my favourite. But also some really good guests coming up, which I don't want to give too much away. Some really exciting stuff coming up with the podcast. So look, subscribe if you're not already. Keep listening. Got some great partnerships that we're working on at the moment. Some great things going on. If you love football, definitely. That's the hint, Mark, I think. If you love football, keep following, keep listening.
Yeah, absolutely. But for now, just subscribe to the show. If you can follow us on the socials. If there's anything you want us to talk about, drop us a line either in the review or on the social media, and we'll get back to you. If you're a big guy and you've lost the weight and you want to share your story, get in touch.
Nice one. Cheers, boys. See you later.